Hey everyone, this is Mike Mulrooney with Shirley Talk, and we have my good friend here, Teresa Oechsli. I wanted to make sure I got her name right. And actually, it just hit me that I don't think we've ever sat down and had a conversation. We've chatted on Facebook a few times in talking about different things that we do in the community. So we just really wanted to have you come in here. Your story's amazing in what you do and how you got started, and thought maybe it'd be great if you shared your story and how you got started. I've watched your video that you had done, and it moves you. So what is it you do, and how did you get started? I know it started with a friend of yours.
I actually was in dentistry, and so I was doing,
I didn't know that.
27 years. So I was doing a free dental clinic at a church, just to offer free care. And I met this lady, and she was just this beautiful soul, just a beautiful woman, very charismatic. And she shared with me that she was staying at the Center for Women and Families because she was in a domestic violence situation. And
so you're working on her teeth?
Yeah, we were walking her through the clinic.
Were you cleaning teeth?
No, I was an assistant, so at that time, and so.
Because I love to have dentists. They're working on your mouth and you're asking
they're talking
questions,
to you,
and you're trying to talk, and they're probably laughing at you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you met this
So
lady.
I met this lady and found out she was staying at the Center for Women and Families, and some of my backstory. I grew up in a home of domestic violence, so it just was very real to me. And I just felt like God just wanted me to walk alongside of her and be a friend. And that was really my whole intention, was just to be a friend and just someone to have coffee with, someone to hang out and just do life with.
Right.
And so we started this beautiful friendship. She was amazing. She stretched me in that she would take me out and we'd feed the homeless, and she just...
So she was homeless herself, living in a shelter, and she was out feeding the homeless.
Absolutely. One of the most beautiful souls. Like, and I don't know if you've experienced that, but working, especially in areas of poverty, they're usually the most giving and sacrificial people you'll meet.
We handed somebody a $500 check the other day, and she wanted to donate it back.
Right.
She was struggling, struggling, and she wanted to donate it back. And actually, she hopped online and made a donation. And anyway, that's a story for another time. But it is amazing what they do. Yeah.
So she was always giving and just believed God for just every need, and she never wavered in that. She's in a domestic violence situation in a shelter, and yet she's saying, I know that God is able to meet my need. And so she really stretched me like that. And so she was sharing with me one day that we should open a shelter for women, but in her mind it was a beautiful home where they could bring their children and feel safe and feel like a home rather than a shelter.
Right.
She's like, we can give them stuffed animals. We'll teach them the Word of God. We'll teach them who God says they are, and we'll give them hope. And so I agreed with her because she could talk you into anything.
But you had no plans of doing this.
No, I just thought, well, that would be great, to do that one day, And then, unfortunately, though, she was murdered by her boyfriend several weeks later.
Wow.
After sharing that vision with me.
So you've known this lady how long now?
11 months.
Okay.
Brought her to my family. We had dinners together. She just was a light in my life.
So I've heard that story before, but I thought this was a lifelong friend that you had known for years.
No.
And you've known her 11 months, and she touched you like that.
Oh, yeah. She was a bright light in my life.
Yeah, amazing.
She just was that. If she were here today, you'd want to be her friend.
There's people like that.
Yeah.
And they touch you, and you walk away thinking, have I known that person
right.
forever?
It was like we had met each other our whole lives. And it was funny. She was a black lady and I was white, of course, and she's like, I asked for God to send me a mentor, but I never thought he'd send me some blonde hair, blue-eyed white woman. And and I said, yeah, look at God. And so that was the uniqueness of it, is that it didn't matter. We totally loved each other, and it was kind of unexplainable, the friendship that we created. So, when she was murdered, I was just like, okay, God, where are you in this? Because we had a plan.
Yeah.
We were going to start this house, and it was going to be beautiful, and now she's gone. what do you do with that? What do you do when, all your plans disappear and the people that you love are gone,
So y'all actually had hardcore plans to put this together.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm telling you, she had me buy in on that one.
Yeah.
I didn't know how we were going to do it, nor did she.
So you're an all feet in, jump in kind of person.
No, not really.
Yeah.
But,
Right. So, but it
I
sounded
mean,
like-
I'm a visionary and I can see it,
Yeah.
and I will do it. But I'd never done a house, and I thought, I'm not equipped to do that, and, all the stuff that goes with that. But once she passed away, I just realized that there was a reason why I met her. And God had a plan, even in that, and in the tragedy, that there could be good.
So you're pretty deep in the faith, and actually that's some of the conversations that Teresa and I have had on Facebook Messenger
Yes.
about faith, and I don't lead astray. I believe there's a God. I'm just struggling with faith, and you're very grounded in that, and I'm hoping to get there one day.
Yeah.
So you're looking.
You will.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think that's amazing. So this was a sign. So you went out and did what? You found a house and remodeled, or what did you do?
Oh, no. I told God, I said, I will do this as long as you provide. I don't know how to do this, but the Lord just spoke to me in my heart, and he was like, I'll send my people.
Most people that start things like that, they don't know what they're doing.
No.
And it just happens.
People are like, well, what qualifies you to do this? And I'm like, life.
Yeah.
I lived it. So, yeah, I started walking that out. And what that looked like was I didn't have a house, but I had to go to their house, and I had to help women. So I partnered alongside of the Center for Women and Families, and any woman that they couldn't help, they called me. And I would try, and I would do whatever I could to help that woman get out.
So they would contact you, and you didn't have a house for them to live in at the time.
No, but I would find
So
them.
you would find some place for them to live. You would help them with food and things like that.
5 years,
5
yes.
years.
So 5 years from the time I said
Right.
I would start the house, I was just helping women. My daughter, because Hosea, Hosea's house, the name comes from, in the book of Hosea, Hosea was a prophet, and he married a prostitute who was unfaithful several times, but he brought her back each time and restored her. And
That's fitting.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
And so in domestic violence, a woman goes back 8 times before she breaks free or gets killed. Those are the
So
statistics.
say that again.
She will go back 8 times before she either breaks free or he kills her.
That's unbelievable. Because I guess they don't know any other way, or they break out and think they know how to survive, and they realize they can't, and they go back. Is that, you think? Or
There's a lot of dynamics, a lot of it is control and things like that, and you stop thinking for yourself.
yeah.
It's interesting that my friend never thought that he would kill her. Honestly, she really didn't. Even though he beat her and put her in the hospital a couple times, she never thought that he would kill her.
And that's probably the thinking that most women have, and that's what gets
Absolutely.
them. Wow. That's unbelievable.
So,
So I'm trying to remember, you and I had a conversation one time, and I thought you said 5 or 6 years. You just said 5, and we were kind of talking about, different steps in the process of organizations. And were you about to throw in the towel or 5 or 6 years, or were you just really feeling down, and then all of a sudden things happened?
no, I knew that I was going to have a house. You could not convince me otherwise. God had already showed it to me, and I knew there was going to be a house. I knew there would be a house. I just didn't know when.
Wow.
Right. People call me, but one thing Jeanette taught me was to believe God for big, crazy stuff
Yeah.
and watch him show up.
Yeah.
That's really what she taught me. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to walk this out. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, I can say I tried, right?
Right.
And so I found a house. I wasn't, we're in the Portland community.
Right.
I didn't pick Portland. That's just where God led me. And I found my first house in 2009. So she passed away in 2004. So October of 2009, I found the house, and I talked the owner into letting me buy it from him. I had no money. I had nothing. I had nothing to offer him. But he believed in what I was doing.
Right.
And I felt like I could get the money. And so he took a chance
You talking like
on me.
owner financing or something?
Yeah, because I mean, you can't go to a bank and say, well, God told me to do this, and He's going to pay for it. But
Yeah.
so he did. He took a chance on me, and that's how we did the first house. And I opened the house, and I started renting. I had people decorate rooms and stuff, and I mean, I didn't have any money. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I raised $20,000 my first fundraiser, but I needed $63,000 to pay the house off. So then I had a mortgage from there, and had no supporters.
Yeah.
And
It's hard. It's hard to convince people. Your friends and family will say, oh, yeah, we believe in you. Here's a few bucks. And then when that runs out, you have to convince people that what you're trying to do is going to make a difference.
Yeah. And I had nothing. I had nothing to show for it other than
a vision.
I was walking this out with people in the community. But, I just thought, well, I'm just going to do this. And I really told the first time that I cannot pay one bill, I'm going to close this house. It'll be done.
And it hadn't happened.
No, it never ran dry, which is crazy because, we had a mortgage, and we had, a house full of women that we had. I said, but I've told people, I said, I know what it's like to pray for pots and pans. And I have been in many times where I thought, this is it, we're going under. And, just one time in particular, we were down to $10 in our bank account.
Yeah.
And I was going to this big fundraiser with one of this man had given to us before, and he invited me to this fundraiser for this other group. And I'm driving there, and I'm like, well, God, you have a sense of humor, because here we have $10 in our bank account. I'm going to this large, fundraiser where I know this, there were 500 people at this,
Right.
And I said, I know you're going to financially require me to give to them as well. And here we are. So I walk in, and I ran into a friend of mine. And she said, well, how's Hosea's house? And I said, man, you're not going to believe this. I said, but we are praying and believing God for a miracle.
Just hope it doesn't rain.
I said, we have $10 in our bank account. And this lady walks up to her, and she says, Teresa from Hosea's house, right? And the lady's looking at me, and she goes, yes. And I said, I'm sorry. I said, but I don't think I know you. I said, I don't think I've ever met you. And she goes, well, I know who you are, and I have something for you. And out of her purse, she pulls out this envelope and hands it to me.
Wow.
And it was a check for $7,000.
Are you serious? So you went to a fundraiser for something else, and the lady there handed you money?
Yes.
Wow.
That
gives me cold chills. I'm sitting
you
here thinking
can't
about
make
it.
this stuff up.
No, you're right.
How
That's
God.
where your faith comes in, and I'm just scratching my head thinking, how in the world does that happen?
Right.
Just real quick, I went to a meeting yesterday. A car dealership invited me, and we've got some money. We're doing okay. But the point is, with what you just said, I'm leaving, and this girl chases me down, and I don't know who she is. And she said, "Will you take a check or just online?" I said, "Check's fine." She handed me a check. I got in the car, and it was a check for $1,000. Wow. I'd never met this lady before.
Yeah.
But she said, "I believe in what you are doing. I want you to have this." So I know what you mean when people randomly hand you stuff. So she knew who you were. She believed in what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So that $7,000 helped you survive for another couple months?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's how it has truly, there has not been a time that we've not been able to pay a bill. We've not been able to hit payroll. We have 2 houses now. Everything we have is paid for. We have no debt.
That's amazing.
You just can't explain. The home that we live in now, it has been totally remodeled. It looks like a showcase home in Portland. It looks like a castle. And when you walk in, you're just blown away. Wow. And when I told someone yesterday, I said, this is the house that my friend saw.
Jeanette.
when she was telling me that.
Yeah.
Because I brought her picture with me over to the new house. And I said, because this is what she saw. Because when women walk in there and they're broken, or, it takes a lot for a woman to pack up her children.
Yeah. And walk away.
Right?
Yeah.
But they can pick up their children and they're blown away because they don't feel like they deserve that.
Yeah.
That's the impact that we want to have, is that why would you not deserve this? That's what I asked them. Like, why should you not live here? Why should you not live in extravagance? Because that's what God sees you. That's how he sees you, that you're worthy of that.
So you start building confidence in these women that come and live with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, you won't be surprised, you've seen it, but I've always been surprised at how people live, and then when they see the slight bit of, I don't know what to call it, success or little ease of pressure, they don't know how to react. So,
Right.
So how many people were in your first house? How many were you able to house?
Oh, goodness. Well, so the house it's right now being totally remodeled again. So we've gutted the whole house again, our first house, and we're going to make it, it used to be a duplex, so we're going to convert it back to a duplex and make it 2 graduate houses. So once they complete our program, they can stay in our home for up to 2 years. Once they leave, they can go into our graduate house for another year. So people are like, that's a long time to house people. But I am all about changing the generational behaviors of families. And let me tell you, change takes time. And so we don't work in mass numbers. We work with a few. But I work with the women that are willing and wanting to make real change. And then we invest in them.
So you were working in a dentist office. Mm-hmm. You open a house. Mm-hmm. You're helping women who are homeless. And you just mentioned programs. So you have no medical background. What kind of program, and how did you develop a program that get these people back on their feet?
Well, one thing that I say first and foremost is love.
Yeah.
Love covers a multitude of sins, the Bible says.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And because they feel love, they desire change. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Because mainly a lot of times brokenness and people that are broken just need somebody to love them and walk alongside of them and show them what a healthy life looks like, right? So we model what a healthy family looks like. When you come into our home, you don't feel chaos. You feel peace. And a lot of times they're struggling with that because they don't know what that is.
Yeah, you're right.
We help women in many crises. Crisis is crisis, And so maybe some of the people that are struggling with cancer, there's women out there and they can't pay their bills or they're getting evicted. Our ministry would be a great resource for them.
Yeah, it would.
Because it might be something that just they need to tide them over to help them get to that next level. So when a woman comes into our house, we sit down with them, first of all, because there's no cookie cutter, what this person needs, this woman may not need. So, let's say a woman comes in and she's pregnant. So we sit down with them and we get them connected to parenting classes. We get them connected to, we partner with the, what's the parenting program? Beside You for Life. We also...
I've never heard of that one before.
Beside You for Life, yeah.
Okay.
They work with pregnant moms.
Younger moms, I guess, or
any pregnant mom, and so they walk alongside of them through that pregnancy, giving them parenting classes, teaching them how to, we also, Home of the Innocents, they have an amazing parenting program that the courts recognize, so we send them to that. We partner with Dress for Success, different programs.
I didn't realize how many women at Home of the Innocents were there because they had kids, and they've got a whole ward for that type of thing, don't they?
And they have an amazing, it truly is an amazing parenting program from birth to teenage years on how to, cope and parent. So, I don't create something that someone else is doing. I find out, what's working, where God is working, and I join them. So why am I going to recreate a parenting program when I know Beside You for Life and Home of Innocence has an amazing parenting program?
Oh, yeah.
So
But
not duplicating.
How do you know when somebody is ready to move to the new duplex that you're building? I mean, do you get a sense that they're are they working? I mean,
Yeah.
so you help them find a job and you can tell that they're actually starting to make some progress and
Right.
fly the coop, I guess
Right.
you could say.
So we tell them for the first 60 to 90 days, we ask them not to work when they
Okay.
first come into our house. The reason for that is that we want to build a relationship with them. We want them, one, to have time just to settle down, just get themselves organized and really start to, because a lot of times when you're in crisis, you're not thinking straight. You're just making crazy decisions because you're getting from one place to the next.
Well, decisions, but a lot of them probably don't have domestic skills. They probably don't know how to cook or do anything.
Right.
Do y'all work with them on that?
Oh, yeah,
type of thing?
absolutely.
So, yeah.
So we when they come in, we start a schedule, so they are required to clean. We show them what that looks like. They're required to cook once a week. So everyone has a day that they cook. They clean, they have chores that they have to do. And then we also connect them to, like if we have Bible studies and things like that at the house, or we'll have get-togethers. Like tonight, we have a lady that's coming, and she's going to teach them how to cook at dinner,
That's amazing.
So we get them connected like that. And then, so I always tell them, I'm like, it's not free.
Yeah.
Our home is only $30 a week to live there. So,
So do
but
they
during that
accrue-
time, they're not paying.
Right, they accrue that to the end, I guess, or?
No, I tell them that it's not free, but someone else paid that for you
Okay,
because they believe in you.
yeah.
And they want to invest in you and your family. And in order to pay them back, they just require that you give back into the community and volunteer. So they volunteer 1 or 2 days a week, and they give back. One, that's just, when people are, when you're in that kind of crisis, what we've seen is when you start to help someone else, you start to heal.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It gives you a purpose.
so
I
they don't
guess.
feel like they're accumulating debt, but they also feel like they're contributing, and that's big.
It is.
I'm just not really into handouts, because I want them to feel like they're contributing to the household as well. So, and then after that, they start working, and it's $30 a week to live in our home. So, $120 a month, which is nothing. It doesn't even cover, but
But like you said,
it's-
if people
it's
are
some buy-in.
if people are living for free and not contributing to anything, it's easy to take that for granted.
right.
And there's issues around the world with that kind of thing. So no, I totally agree
Absolutely.
with that. So you got the first house. You had what, 2, 3, 4 women there, or
Yeah,
how did that work?
we could probably have up to 4 to 5 families because we take children 8 and under as well.
Right.
So ours might look a little bit different in the aspect that we take children. And that's a whole nother,
Yeah.
But, so it really just depends on the families that we get. One thing that we're noticing, I thought since COVID happened that we would just get all this, influx of single moms, that are just
Right.
not able to pay their bills. And so we were praying strategically about who God would send to us to be able to walk alongside of. And what we're seeing, it's interesting, are the 50-somethings.
In domestic problems or just homeless?
Just many problems.
Yeah.
Just some come to us through abuse, but also some come to us from just being lost in the foster system their whole life and not really able to make any grounding. And they're in a situation where, there's just not a lot of benefits for a 50-year-old woman that has no children
No, yeah, you're right.
or grown children,
You're
right?
Yeah. And
Where
if they
was-
have any type of income at all, they're still not going to get much help either.
Right,
Yeah.
and they're not going to get much at all
No,
anyway.
no,
So that's what we're seeing now is the 50-somethings, and it's exciting to see that too, though, and to watch how God, because some of them are starved for children, and so the other children in the house start to heal them because they get to love on them. So that's pretty cool.
It's kind of like taking pets to an elderly home.
Right,
It,
absolutely.
puts a smile on their face, and
Yeah.
that age woman, if they haven't had children, most women, guys, I love my kids, so, but, I mean, I didn't
Right.
grow up wanting kids. Most women, that's one thing they think of.
Absolutely.
So at that age, if they haven't had children, I bet that does have a huge impact.
Or
on
they
them.
have children and grandchildren, but they're estranged from them.
Right.
So that's kind of the move that we're seeing, and we're not sure what that looks like, but we're embracing it because, you know, we're just seeing the healing, you know, that once they start to realize their value, you know, and it's interesting, you know, we have one lady that's from Kurdistan, and she's been with me 2 years, over 2 years, and just to see the change in her, that she understands her value
Yeah, that's huge.
and that she has value and that she has worth and that she can stand up and say what she needs. So, you know, that's what we do. We just walk alongside of them and help them to find their way.
Well, you're having a huge impact because did you build a new house or you got one coming up?
Yeah,
The second house now?
yeah, the second house, it's beautiful. It looks like a castle. When I first went into Portland, it was being worked on 10, 12 years ago. And I just, when I saw that one day, I said, I want that house because it looks like a king lives there. And
Now you got a bunch of queens living there.
now we do. God gave us that house. That house was donated to us.
So how many will you be able to house there, or is it active?
Yeah,
now?
oh yeah, we're in it now, since the other one's being worked on now. So I said, you know, I opened that house. It's interesting. You know, it took 5 years. But in 2009, when I had no support, no money, you know what happened in 2008? Our economy crashed,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
We were
I
in the
forgot
biggest
about that.
economic crisis that we've ever been in a long time.
Right.
And then, okay, so now we're going to do a house. That's awesome, you know, during
Perfect
a
timing.
major, right. So we started the totally tearing down the other house, and what happens? We're in a pandemic. We're in COVID-19, and we're in, you know, just, you know, our world's in unrest. So, you know, God's perfect timing, right?
Yeah, you hit two world problems on both your
Right.
houses. So.
I'm like, Lord, do you not know we're in COVID-19? Like, we are, you know, but it's okay. You know, I'm just walking this out. And you know what? I'm like, you are going to show this world what you can do through your people. And it was exciting, you know, to think that, so I always say that, you know what? I just walk this thing out because I walked it out and I saw that God's faithful in it.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's tough. It's I wish I had your faith, and I said I'm a work in progress. You know, Patrick, he sends me stuff every now and then. He's working on me too. So
he's my pastor, so yeah.
I'm gonna get him in here too one day here soon.
Absolutely.
So. But I'm just amazed by your story. That's amazing, and I don't know. That's just incredible. How many women do you keep track of them? Did they do well after the program, I guess you could say? Are they doing well?
We do have families that are doing really well, and it's so exciting to see. You know what's so crazy is, you know, and some were just in and out back when we first started. You know, sometimes it was just they stayed a couple months and they left. You know, but some of those women who were even mad at me or thinking, you know,
Mad at you.
yeah, you know, because sometimes when you have to tell them no and, you
Mother
know,
hen
you can't
tells
do
them
that,
no,
you know, they don't like that, especially when they're in their madness or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget one night I got a text from this lady who she was so mad at me when she left. And she said, Miss Teresa, I want you to know you made a difference in my life, and I love you, and I'm doing good. And so that's really what, you know, because ultimately they know that I love them. Mm-hmm. And that just, you know, it makes all the difference to someone that's never felt loved. And so we are seeing moms, you know, young moms, one in particular, she was 8.5 months pregnant when she came to me, couch hopping, no real family, yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Well, that's when you stay at this couch one night and you go to the next couch the next
Okay.
night and you go
Yeah.
to that, because
Yeah.
you're homeless and
Yeah.
you're just, wherever anybody would put you, that's where you slept. So we
Got it.
call it couch hopping. That mom has totally amazed me. One of the best mothers, loves her child. It changed her life. And, they come to church with us now, and it's just exciting to see that, and it's because somebody loved her and walked alongside of her.
Yeah, you said that, and I firmly believe that. People need somebody to love them, but they also need somebody to give them a chance.
Yep.
And believe in them. And if you
Yeah,
get
that's
that
true.
little bit of confidence that somebody shows you, you can really make changes. And that you're obviously showing them love, but you're building confidence in people that have been broken completely.
Absolutely.
And that makes a huge difference.
Right. Because, my daughter always said, Mom, you have an ability to be able to see people. She's like, you could just look at that drunk on the street, and you don't see that drunk you see something else. Like, you see different things in people. And because I always try to find the good. Because even the drunk on the street, there's good somewhere in there.
Well, good and potential. Some
Absolutely.
people, you could throw it in front of them, they wouldn't bite. But there's a lot of people. I mean, you're right. People there's potential, there's creativity. It's just they got to have somebody to believe in them.
And they gotta want it. Like I said, when we first started, we would take anyone and everyone, and we just wanted to love everyone. And after time, it's like, are we really making an impact, or would we be better off stepping back a little bit and really interviewing, making sure that people are really committed and ready, and really investing long term in them?
Yeah.
And we have seen more fruit from that, being able to really, those people that just say, I want a new life, I just don't even know what that looks like.
Well, like you said, you want to help everybody, but there's certain people that no matter what you do, they're going to keep taking and taking and
Right.
taking and never show progress, or never show that they have the desire to live their own life.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
that's
it is.
true.
It is. But the ones you've touched, so how many do you know?
Well, it's probably close to 150
Are you
families since we
serious?
started that we've impacted. And it's interesting, when I first started, and I was in Portland, and, God said, you don't have a house, so go to theirs. So I started a little women's group there, and I met a lady in the community, Miss Peggy, and God love her. They were rough women. But I just showed up every week, and I just told her, bring your friends, I want to know them. And I just created a relationship with these ladies, and just showed up every week, and her husband one time, he said, you'll never change Portland. Portland will always be like this. And I said, well, you know what? I'm not out to change Portland. I'm out to change Peggy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to teach Peggy how to change somebody else. And so, we started loving on the neighbors and community, and they started feeding the neighbors, and they knew they had worth and they had value. And at one of our groups one night, Peggy came to me and she said, look, this lady here, she's living in that abandoned house across the street. She doesn't have any food. And I said, well, she's not my neighbor. She's yours. And what are you going to do about it? Because, see, so many of us, we want to fix the problem, right? We want to be the rescuer.
Yeah, pass it off to somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they were looking to me to fix it.
Yeah.
Like I had the means. And I did. But they did too.
Yeah.
Just because you're poor doesn't mean you can't do something.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, and she said, we'll take care of it. And they took care of that woman, and that sparked something in them. And they started, cleaning the widows' houses, and they started making bags and giving them out. And, she now, every Thursday, she works with another organization, and she is out giving food in the community. She always stops by Hosea's house to make sure we have everything we need. And that was 12 years ago.
Because doing that makes somebody feel good. It
Yep.
flips a switch in them. When you actually give somebody a hand up, which is what we all call it, it's has a feel moment that you just can't describe.
Right.
You know, we've had a lot of people tell us the same thing. You can't save everybody. Why are you even trying? And then I was doing something, and the whole starfish story, I'm sure you've heard of that, where
You can save one.
people are walking down the beach and they're throwing starfishes that's covered, and they said, why are you doing that? You're wasting your time, and you can't save all the starfish that are on this beach. And he said, well, I made a difference to this one, and threw it in the ocean, and threw it in the ocean.
Right.
And if you keep building those ones and ones and ones, next thing you know, you got 150 people, you said?
Right.
So one at a time, you changed 150 people's lives.
Right.
Giving them hope and love.
Well, even more than that, because our goal is to change the generation so that way, that child, see, here's the thing, especially like in trafficking and things like that, they're like, you got to start when they're little. And so if we can tell the mamas and teach the mamas their value and worth, they're not, having the boyfriend that's molesting their child, because you see what I'm saying? Like, we're breaking those generational things to where it's not just impacting those 150 families, but it's impacting their children.
It's getting them away from what they currently know.
Their families, yes.
And getting them into something
Helping
more
them to
positive.
realize what is normal and what's not normal, what's good and what's not good, and knowing their worth, knowing that. And we're seeing that happen. So, it's very, very important to me for them to know that, it isn't just about you anymore. This is about your child and making sure that your children. I got a text from one of my graduates the other day, and she was with the other lady that was in our home, and they're best friends now, and they help each other, their parents, and their children love each other. And she said, it's all because we met at a little white house on the corner. And you taught us how to love ourselves so that we can now let our children know that they're loved. And these children have never felt unloved. And that's what she said. That's what it's about.
Yeah, that's special. So it just amazes me the stories that you had never thought about doing something like this, and here you are, 7 years later, 8 years later, 9 years, 11 years.
Longer.
11 years. Since 2008
Yeah, 2004 is when I started this journey. So 16 years. Yeah, isn't that crazy? My friend will be November 5th of 2009. So that's another thing. She
died in 2009.
She died in 2004, but I opened the house in 2009 on the 5-year anniversary of her death.
Wow.
I opened that first house.
It's unbelievable.
And, it was intentional because her life mattered. More than her death, her life mattered. And so, these families are the result because I met Jeanette Mack Spencer. And had I not met her, I don't think Hosea's house would exist today.
You got a picture of her hanging in the living room?
I do. I dedicated that first house to her. And it's interesting when, the man that, let me buy the house from him, he said, I invited him to the open house, and he said, my wife and I were pulling down the street, and he said, I looked at my wife and I said, I sure hope someone shows up for this thing.
Yeah.
And he said, I couldn't even find a parking place. There were 100 people there because her family was, it was healing for them. So we're just, I'm just going to walk this thing out and see what it looks like. And,
Sounds like you could open a house all up and down Portland, the street there.
Well, you know what? If I can do it, anyone can.
Yeah.
And that's I think what, that's my other thing. I met with a lady yesterday, and she's like, I have this vision. And I'm like, I love that. I love that you have a vision. You can take anything I have off my website. All my paperwork, anything I have.
Yeah.
I said, the only thing you can't have is my logo and my name. But other than that, you take and you use it because I'm all about that. I think we have to share. We have to tell each other stories, right?
Well, we're in the same boat. people ask me all the time, and I'm the same way. You can use whatever you want.
Right.
Because it's not a competition.
No.
If you're truly doing something good for the community, we'll try and guide you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Hell, we did a video the other day on how to start a 501c3, because
That's
that's
good.
a pain. That's real difficult.
It is.
So I'm hoping people are watching these and realizing that you can take a vision, even if you're in the dentist industry.
Right.
I'm an IT guy.
That's
I work
funny,
in IT.
right? You know?
Yeah, you just never, it's not something, most people like us that do this, it's not something we grew up thinking about. It's something that happened that has moved us to do it.
Absolutely. And I worked full time. I worked full time from 2004 to 2015.
Yeah.
And this ministry survived. So it had to be God because,
Well, yeah, I do
wasn't
too.
me.
I break out at lunchtime and do stuff like this, and go back and do what I've got to do. And that's fine. That's my life right now.
right. That was me. It was like, I'm going to do this. I need to do this, and I had to adjust my life to that. But I wouldn't want to do anything else, because I'm telling you, there's just joy in seeing, your vision come to pass. Because it was a seed, it was a thought in our mind, and now look at where we're at today.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that.
But then when you see the person walk out the door knowing that they've got the tools to be successful in life, it's got to be fulfilling.
Absolutely. Same for you.
Yeah.
You make an impact as well, and you've impacted my family, your ministry, and we're forever grateful. My husband and I, we support you, and we love what you do too.
Well, thank you. That's, we're all trying to make a difference in this world. So if you can make a
Right.
little bit of an impact, hopefully it'll carry on and make a bigger impact. So
Absolutely, because you're not just impacting the people affected, but you're impacting their families. You're making things happen to give memories.
that's good to hear.
To
I don't always
families.
think about it that way.
Yeah, it's true for us.
Yeah.
I know that you all provided a resource for my sister, and she was able to renew her vows after 40 years, and she passed away 4 months later. So
Wow, that's good to hear.
y'all made that happen.
I just don't think about that stuff.
Right.
You just do your thing, and
Yeah.
I just don't think about it.
Well, you think about, like, there may be someone out there that you don't have a lot of money, but you have a resource. You have something you can do to make an impact.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just as bad, or if not more valuable sometimes than just someone giving a check.
Yeah.
Maybe you know how to do some things that you need, or, someone out there might need.
Well, and you're in the same boat, but when you do this, people want to support you as you're going along, and people ask me all the time, what can we do to help, or who do you recommend that supports what you do? And we'll send them contact names and things like that, of people that support us because they want to use their businesses or
Right.
services. And then you get some that just, they're showing off their business, and they do it for free. They don't charge
Right.
the people, which is even better.
Right.
We've had that happen a few times. Right Mechanical has done some things for people and refused to charge them.
Absolutely. Well, Christy's Cafe.
Yeah, Christy's awesome.
She's the
an
one
angel.
that she catered my sister's
Yeah.
wedding, so her vow renewal. So, and did that for free.
I know.
I mean,
I remember.
oh, it makes me tear up thinking about it.
Yeah,
just
she's an
how.
angel, and we've
how
got
they give.
several of those, and I know you've got them. You can make a phone call, and it'll be
Absolutely.
taken care of, and there'll be no bill. And Christy's
Right.
one of those. So Christy's Cafe.
Yeah.
Anybody listening in Louisville?
Yeah, go
Christy
support her. She's
Druin is
amazing.
I call her the Angel of Dixie Highway,
Yeah.
so not many people know much about. But she does so much stuff and just says, "Don't worry about it, I've got it." And
Right.
you never hear anything about it.
No, she didn't want the recognition, but it truly meant so much to my sister, and so I'm grateful.
Well, we're glad we're doing that. So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Teresa, for your time. We're gonna get this out there and listen to your story. Like I said, I knew a lot of it, but I didn't know everything that you talked about today. So it's truly inspirational.
Yeah, yeah. If anybody's out there and they have somebody they know, or if they themselves are in a spot and think that Hosea's house might be a resource, we'd love to, talk to them. If nothing else, maybe we have a resource for them. So,
Sounds good. Thank you, Miss Teresa from Hosea's house.
thank you.